let's fix some things. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is absolutely pouring here. It just started about 5 minutes ago. It's crazy outside. Which means it's a perfect day to sew. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get cozy and we are going to fix some of my older me needs from about last year and 2 years ago. So I have 3 dresses that I want to fix different things on them. I'm starting to transition my closet from winter to spring and looking at some of the things that I wore last year or didn't wear. I realized that some garments that I made could use some love and attention. So let me show you them. Okay, so the first dress that I'm gonna work on is this Barden dress that I made from LB Textiles. It's a free pattern on Peppermint Magazine website. And when I made this, I'd already used this fabric for a pair of pants. And I wanted another Barden dress because it is just the best simple summer dress to throw on. You can wear a regular bra with it because it will hide your bra straps. I added it comes with pockets, so I made it with pockets. And I didn't have enough for the bottom ruffle, and I thought it would be fine. But it just added this small ruffle makes it look kind of like cupcakey, if that makes sense. And that was not the look that I'm going for. So to fix this dress, I am going to add a bigger bottom ruffle. And luckily, I got this fabric on clearance at Joann's. And one day I went and they had more of it. And I think I bought the entire bolt of fabric because I just love this pattern. I love that it's black, but it has like a little lightness to it for the summer. And it's just like really lightweight cotton. It's really nice. So I'm excited to be able to turn this dress into something that I will actually wear. So this Barden dress I live in the summertime. It's made from this drapey rayon fabric. It's so comfortable, but I've worn it so much that the lining for the armhole neck lining are fraying. And this is one of like the first dresses that I made, so I didn't really stitch it that well together. And another thing I did as a newbie sewer, because this is so drapey, I didn't add pockets because I don't know. I thought like maybe you'd be able to see it, or I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but I didn't, and I really want pockets. That's also a little annoying to me. So I'll probably fix that, add pockets, and then fix the binding along the top. Okay, this dress has a lot going on. So this dress is self-drafted. It has a tie in the front that goes and ties in the back, and then this big tie in the front. and that's how you close it. So it's like a pinafore dress, and I made it in this cotton gauze fabric. And I just don't like how it looks on me. I think I made it in the wrong fabric, and I do want to try again in like a silkier, slinker fabric. So for this dress, I'm thinking of just turning it in to a sleeveless dress by closing the sides. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the top yet. This I still need to kind of decide how I'm going to fix this. So I guess we'll figure that out together later in the video. So first thing, I put on something fun to watch on TV, grabbed my seam ripper, and got to work unpicking the small ruffle at the bottom of the dress. I measured the length of the ruffle on the gold Barden dress, and it was about 11 inches, so I decided to make this one 13 inches just to give me a little more room for reattaching, for seam allowance, and for hemming the bottom. This was a pretty wide piece of fabric, so I only needed to cut 2 strips and sew them together to make the full ruffle. So I worked on sewing those 2 pieces together to make a giant loop. And then added gathering stitches to the top so I could pull it in to make the ruffle. I decided to do the hem before attaching it to the dress so I would have less to work with, and once I attached it to the dress it would be complete. So I overlocked the edge, and then I just folded it over twice at my sewing machine to stitch and make a pretty narrow hem. Okay, she's all ruched, pinned, matching side seams. So now I'm going to sew the ruffle on and then pull out any gathering stitches that I need to. And then this dress will be done. With the first dress fixed, I was ready to move on to dress number 2. For this dress, I put on a podcast to listen to and then started unpicking the binding around the armholes and neck opening. Once that was unpicked, I took it over to the iron and I flattened it out away from the body. All right, so I cleaned this up, which took forever. Cleaned up all the threads, ironed it flat, and I think instead of like unpicking everything, what I'm gonna do is, because this was so big to begin with, I'm just gonna trim about 1 centimeter off, which is really what's fraying. And then, hold on. I'm gonna use some interfacing to kind of secure that cut fiber. Because I was going to use my overlocker, but I feel like I like this idea better instead of an overlocker. Since it's going to be cutting, and I'm afraid that it's just going to add more holes and strain the fabric more, where this feels like it's going to hold it in place better. And I'm just going to cut, again, like a 1/2 inch and iron it and secure it just on the end. So when it folds over, that inside will be nice and crisp and won't fray. That's what I'm going to do. Using my water removable pen, I marked about 1 centimeter off, ended up going back and actually cutting another centimeter off for a total of 2, and then trimmed that up using my rotary cutter. Okay. I've cut the interfacing. Very tiny. And I'm going to iron that onto the edge of my bias tape. Fun fact, I found this stain that I don't think was there before. I have no idea what it is. So before I continue on, I'm gonna see if I can get this out. And if I can, I'll iron on my interfacing and then I'll pick this all up tomorrow. Wish me luck. Okay, it's the next day, and let me show you the good news. The stain is gone. Phew! I used that OxyClean spray, not sponsored. Darren introduced it to me, and it's amazing. It takes care of like every stain. After I was finished doing this project, I realized that there are other methods and materials to use, such as like sticky tape, that probably would have made this a little easier because these strips were kind of difficult to work with. But I also wanted to use something I already had, and I was happy with the end result. It just took a little bit of patience to get there at the end. And once the binding was done, I was ready to move on to adding pockets. I went back and forth to figuring out what method I wanted to use to add pockets, but because I had done a French seam for this entire dress, I wanted to keep that seam type and add the pockets using a French seam. So first I marked where I wanted my pockets to go, and then I worked on unpicking just that section.
Yeah.
I sewed the pockets wrong sides together to the skirt, flipped it over, and then sewed right sides together. I top stitched it to the seam and then put the two pockets together, wrong sides together. Sewed that, and then I trimmed the seam allowance, flipped it inside, and sewed that to make my pocket. With the second dress complete, I was ready to move on to the third dress. Okay, so I have taken those side ties off, undid the darts in the front because I realized they were like really uneven. So I'm going to redo the darts. I'm going to remove that pocket and make like inside pockets here so you won't see them. And I measured, and if I take one of these ties and open it up, it's big enough to connect these two. And then I think this will just be like a little more ruched and will be like cute, and this will be like a really full skirt. And I think that's the plan. So fix the darts, remove the pocket, unpick this, sew it in the side, make side pockets, which I think I have enough fabric for. And then this will be done. Hopefully it's as simple as I think it's gonna be. Here we go. So I got to work removing the front pocket and opening up the one tie to make it big enough to fill in the sides.
Yeah.
I fixed the darts and measured how far down I needed that piece to be to make room for my armpits. And I ended up using a piece that was about 11 inches because I didn't mind if it was a little further down. I could just cut that piece off. Since the side of the skirt was already finished, I overlocked the edges of the pockets and just attached them how I normally would. No French seaming this time. I unpicked the bottom so I could fix the hem and make it even. Stitched the side seams together, including the pockets, and then attached the skirt to that new side piece. And my third and final dress was complete. So I went from my little ruffle to my longer ruffle. I went from fraying around the arm binding and neck binding to nice and secure. No fraying, and hopefully it will stay that way. And I went from no pockets to pockets. Yes. And from this pinafore puffy thing to this nice sleeveless dress. I decided to keep the neckline square because I thought it was an interesting detail that made it a little different than all my other dresses. My fixes are done. It always turns out what I think is going to be a pretty simple and straightforward project ends up being a little more complicated and time consuming. And that's what definitely happened with my gold dress. That lining just took a while to fix, and there was definitely an easier method that I could have used, like I said, but I'm happy with how it turned out, and I'm hoping that it won't unravel or fray. And this dress that I was kind of having a tough time wrapping my head around ended up being pretty straightforward and simple, and I really like the result. And I love the way that ruffle turned out on my black dress. So I'm happy that I have 3 dresses like freshened up and ready to go for summer. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another sewing adventure. Bye.